76% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. And according to Forbes, 93% of business owners pay more than legally required to pay in income tax. And nearly 50% of all Americans have bad credit, but not you. At least not anymore. See, this is the School of Wealth, where you learn how to maximize your credit, minimize your taxes, and multiply your assets so you can create generational wealth. Hi, I'm Rondy Lambert, certified FICO credit professional, author, speaker, and tax strategist. For the last 20 years, I've helped tens of thousands of Americans just like you take control of their money, fix their credit, wipe out their debt, cut their taxes by 50%, and multiply their assets. If you're ready to break free from the rat race and start building a life of freedom and abundance, then you're in the right place. Welcome to the School of Wealth. All right, today in the studio, I have Joy Luedtke. Good to see you, Joy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for making that long trip out here to the studio.
I used to live out this way, so I always love a drive.
Yeah, it's always, I get a response from people like, I didn't realize it was so far away. Why do you live in the middle of nowhere? But with everybody building around me, it's less and less middle of the nowhere.
Yeah. No, you've got a beautiful place out here. I know why you live out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Joy, we have lots of things to talk about.
Yeah.
And part of it is EO, the nonprofit organization that I talk about on the show a lot. So I want to talk about EO, if that's okay, because you are our current president.
Incoming. Well, in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
We know who's really running things right now.
At this point, yeah. I think since April, and I think it's consistent every year, the new people just start taking the baton and running with it.
Yeah. So, but let's get started. Let's back up a little bit. Before you were an entrepreneur of many businesses and before you were the president of one of the largest, I wonder if maybe is YPO bigger?
Not in terms of numbers.
So probably one of the largest nonprofit entrepreneur groups in the world.
Yeah.
65 countries, 22,000 members. Is that right? If I remember right.
Yeah, that sounds right to me. And I know you and I were both in Hawaii together for an international convention. And I think that's just one of the enormous beauties of it, is to sit at a table with people from all over the world.
Yeah, that was fun. So prior to that, let's go back to where you grew up.
So I grew up in the military.
Okay.
And so I always tell people I'm from the Army. And a lot of that was through the Southeast, but I did live internationally as well and moved to Boise. It was actually as a result of the war with Iraq. My dad got back and said, I'm done. He joined the National Guard here in Boise, and I was just starting college. And he asked me to follow the family out and go to Boise State for some family reasons, which I did. And once I came to Boise, I was like, this is home and I'm not leaving. And I've been here for over 30 years.
Wow.
So this is home for me.
Well, welcome. There's
you.
so many people here. I meet all the time. Like, where are you from? California. Where are you from? Washington.
Yeah. And
states.
I always say, if you come from the military, you get to pick any state, state you want and say that that's home, because you as a family fought for all of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I grew up in Idaho. So it's very unusual to meet someone here that's from Idaho. But if you've been here 30 years, you're from Idaho.
It
right?
feels
We're
that
welcoming.
way.
Even there's two types of, we joke about, there's two types of Californians that come to Idaho. There's the ones that move in on Sunday in the moving truck. On Monday, they're at the DMV getting their driver's license and plates. They're done with California. They're now Idahoans, and we welcome them. And then the other ones that run over people because they are hanging an American flag in front of a Tesla dealership like they did 2 months ago, 3 months ago. So
I get really judgmental of people when I'm on the green belt and they don't follow like our local protocols. You know, that's one of the ways I'm like, they're not from here. You know?
What's the local protocols?
Well, you're supposed to stay on your left if you're passing.
Oh yeah.
And I just had someone mow me down last weekend, you know, and that's just not what we do here. We're so friendly in this town, and that's one of the reasons I love it so much.
Another protocol, I think, maybe I'm wrong on this, but the local protocol is you have a well-behaved dog that doesn't have to be on a leash controlled all the time. That
Oh yeah.
because I take Sawyer, he's never on a leash. He's on electronic leash.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm in control of what he's doing,
Mm-hmm.
and I take it because, there's things down there. There's coyotes and bobcats, and I
Oh yeah.
expect there's probably mountain lions down there. We just don't see them because
Mm-hmm.
there's deer and there's beaver. So I'm sure there's mountain lions down there as well. So I just keep them on. And there's other people that have not so nice dogs that I can control Sawyer with his electronic leash. So you grew up in, your dad was in the military. What was his MOS? What was his job?
He was a helicopter pilot, ended up, his last one in the military was with the Apache helicopters. So he was one of the first to learn to fly those and then became a crew chief. And when he moved out here to Idaho, that was when the National Guard was getting a unit of those. And so he helped set up their program.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So he was a pilot first and then a crew chief?
Yes.
Was that medical reasons that he?
No, just his aptitude. He is really a mechanical genius.
He didn't want to fly anymore?
He did. And, he would get his hours in when he was doing test flights and stuff. But one of the things that was a comfort to me as a kid was because he had that designation, they didn't want him flying missions. And my mom had medical issues. And so it was a bit of a comfort to know that he wasn't necessarily in the line of fire as directly. And that may have also been part of his reasoning.
Yeah, that could make sense.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you know this, but I was a crew chief on a medevac helicopter.
I didn't know that.
Yes. Yeah. So I took the ASVAB.
Okay.
And my both of my uncles were in the Army. My grandfather was in the Army Corps that then later turned into the Air Force during World War II. And then my biological father was in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
And this was in the 80s when the Marines had really cool commercials and really cool posters.
I remember them.
And I remember in high school, because I've been on podcasts and people that are like, did you have a Ferrari poster or a girl poster? I'm like, no, I had Marine posters in my bedroom. And this is after I left home. When I was in foster care, I would scrape up some dollars. And I think you can get the Marine posters for free. It's probably how I had the military stuff. But I wanted to be a Marine primarily because the uniforms were cool and their commercials were cool. And now with Pete Hegseth in charge, we got cool commercials again.
Yeah, I have sensed a difference. And, I think they just gave a sense of purpose that I think a lot of us were looking for.
Yeah. And I took the ASVAB, which is the military. It's kind of like an IQ test or an EQ test.
I took it too.
You know what it is.
Yeah.
So for the audience listening, it tests your IQ, your EQ, your mechanical ability, and just your general knowledge of things and how to solve problems. I think that's probably the easiest way to explain that.
Yeah.
And I had maxed that out. And I didn't know that though. So I went to the Marine Corps recruiter, and I was actually talking to my dad about this just this weekend.
Okay.
And I told him the story because I spent 5 hours with my biological father this weekend on Friday. And I'd never spent that much time with him in my entire life other than when I was like 2 or 3 years old.
Oh, wow.
So it was a really cool, I was frustrated in the beginning, and I'll talk about it on other podcasts. I was really frustrated in the beginning because he's mentally ill. He's cuckoo bird.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But every once in a while he comes back, and it's like talking to someone with Alzheimer's is what it reminded me of. Not saying he has that, but he has issues with speaking and putting his thoughts together. I think there's just a lot of stuff that with drugs and a lifetime of alcoholism. And I was telling him that when I met with the Marine recruiter, he said, I don't know how to tell you this, son, but you're just dumb. And the only thing you qualify is to be a laundry or cook. And that is it in the Marine Corps. And I said, well, I might be dumb, but I'm smart enough to know that I'm not that dumb. I went to the Army as my second choice. And that recruiter says, what do you want to do? Because you maxed out the test. You can do anything you want to do. And I said, I want to fly helicopters. He goes, that's what we'll do then. So I got accepted to fly helicopters. But then in the meantime, waiting for flight school, I become a crew chief.
Okay.
So it's interesting that your dad did the opposite. He was a pilot first. And so we went to Fort Rucker. Is that where he trained?
Yeah.
Yep.
We were in Fort Rucker.
So you lived there as a kid?
I did.
Yeah.
My mom also has mental health issues, so I didn't realize we have such a background in common.
Yeah. I was in Fort Rucker. I think I told you that a few weeks ago. I was in Fort Rucker like a month ago. I went to the largest regenerative cattle ranch in the world, which is in Bluffton, Georgia.
Okay.
It's Will Harris's ranch called White Oaks. He was on Joe Rogan twice. And so I was like, I have my little farm out here.
Mm-hmm.
And Amanda said, hey, I think we can probably go meet him through one of her acquaintances. So we just flew I was speaking at an event in Houston. Then we flew from Houston to Panama City. I rented a car, drove through Fort Rucker, not through Fort Rucker, but next to Fort Rucker. Had dinner there and then ended up in Bluffton, which is basically this cattle ranch. There's nothing else there.
Right.
And I took Sawyer in the next morning. He's, of course, off leash. And I walk into this little country store and there's this older man in his late 70s. And he's like, man, that's a well-behaved dog. I said, thank you, sir. What's your name? And he's like, I'm Will. And I'm like, I'm Rondi. And then Amanda walks around the corner and she's like, that's him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So then we got to spend 4 hours with him as he showed us the largest regenerative cattle ranch in the world. And it was just a great time.
That sounds like so much fun.
So you spent some time in the military with your dad.
Yep.
With Fort Rucker. Do you end up in Germany as well?
Yes. Yeah. When I was little, I was in Mainz. And when I was in high school, I was in Wiesbaden.
How'd you like Germany?
Loved it.
Yeah.
It was a little tougher when I was in high school because they had just moved a unit of Apache helicopters there. And it wasn't a popular political decision with the Germans. So I would be on public transport and be getting yelled at in German and had, no idea what was being said, and people would laugh. And, I didn't take it too personally, but I would say they weren't as happy to have us there the second time around.
I think with what's going on with Germany, I think they are so close to becoming a authoritative. Well, I mean, they're already doing it with that. If you hurt someone's feelings or if you say something wrong, they'll throw you in prison. I mean,
wow.
they have no freedom of speech anymore at all in Germany. And their economy is basically bankrupt.
Wow.
They're struggling. So it's kind of scary thinking about what could happen again.
Yeah, the international scene right now is changing so quickly, and maybe it's exposing what was already there. It's certainly not my forte, but it's a full-time job just keeping up with.
It is, yeah. So right now we're recording. It's in June. America has not bombed Iran yet. I think it's coming. I think they're gearing up in the next 72 hours or so to drop the Moab, which is mother of all bombs. They've never dropped it before they've only done it in tests. So that's the bunker buster that'll go down 300 feet and then explode.
Wow.
And then they drop another one right after. So what they do is they drop it. The B-2 bombers are the only planes that can carry it. They'll drop it because they're 30,000 pounds each and they can carry two. They'll drop it. It'll go down 300 feet, then explode, and then they'll drop another one down the same hole.
Okay.
And it gets even further down, even more damage. So I think by the time this airs in the next 2 weeks, I think will have already dropped it and probably be in a war of some kind with Iran. So that's been in the making for 47 years. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that on the way over here. Is just growing up with my background. Anytime there was a conflict, when your parents are involved with helicopters, they're there.
Yeah.
And so, I think my dad was at 3 birthdays like my whole life.
Yeah.
Growing up. And it was just, and I was just thinking, and this feels different as an adult, but maybe it's just more of awareness. But, we've been in and out of these conflicts as long as I can remember.
Yeah. And, with the news, I was, since January 20th, I've been watching the news every day and haven't. It's like Christmas every day up until about 2 weeks ago. And
Yeah.
now, just with all the riots in LA and the No Kings movement and all the murders that the Democrats are pushing for, supporting, go out into the streets, go out and fight in the streets. And then they're like, I can't believe people are killing each other and assassinating, people of politicians. What's going on? It's like, well, you guys are the ones pushing all of this. So I don't watch it as much as I was, that's for sure, because it's not as fun anymore to
Yeah,
watch
nothing makes sense. None of this is making sense.
So you left Germany in high school, and then that's when you came to Boise, right after high school?
No, actually, I finished high school in Savannah, Georgia.
Okay.
And then came out this way from there. So I was actually all set up with a scholarship down in Georgia to go to, I think it was called Atlanta Christian College or something. But, honoring my folks and being present when my mom could be healthier was just the better decision. And getting to move to Boise's just been what I always wanted, which was to have roots and to have a home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in Savannah that same trip. When I was in Georgia, I ended up going to Hilton Head and spent some couple days.
Those are all my stomping grounds. Panama City, Hilton Head.
And our trip was supposed to be an overnight trip. And the next day, someone called in a bomb scare at the Savannah airport. So it closed for 2 days.
Oh, my gosh.
So I ended up spending 3 days at Hilton Head, which I'm not complaining about.
Hopefully got some golf in.
I didn't. A lot of boating, though. I'm hoping to go for 4th of July. I have this goal of seeing fireworks on all 50 states, and I'm up to like 16 states so far.
Oh, that's a cool goal.
So I'm hoping I can, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go. I know I'm going somewhere. I'm pretty sure it's going to be there, and we'll see it 4th of July in Savannah, as well as try to get a show the next day in South Carolina.
Okay.
So, or maybe vice versa, but.
Yeah, and you can write all those off.
Yeah. So you went of course I'll write all of that off.
That's what you do.
That is a business trip. That's why I'm saying, hopefully I can go there because I'm lining up business things right now. And it's wherever the business person is. Mm-hmm. And most likely it will turn into, when I was there before, we've already got business from Will Harris, helping him with some carbon credits. Because our blockchain, that's what we do, is track and trace carbon credits. So we got business out of that. And then when I stayed at their house in Hilton Head, he runs multiple businesses. And it's kind of a no-brainer. If I can take your taxes from a couple $100,000 a year to zero, it's kind of a no-brainer to make that one-time investment to make that happen. So it's just whether or not they're going to be there. Mm-hmm. So you went to Boise State. What was your degree?
Elementary education.
Oh, wow.
So I taught when my kids were real young, and I think I was a teacher 3 or 4 years, and from there helped a friend start a small business, and I managed it, took up their accounting, managed inventory, and was on the accounting and entrepreneurship journey from there.
That explains how you're able to manage all of us entrepreneurs at EO. You're used to dealing with little kids.
It's a lot like the classroom, to be honest with you.
I know it is.
And the other thing I find so fascinating about how my degree sort of plays in is I always think about laying things out in terms of scope and sequence, doing building education in a way that people can learn what I mean. And so it's actually worked for what I do now in ways that I never would have thought possible.
Not very many people can say that, can they?
Yeah, no, right? And definitely, I think a lot of times teachers can be put down or it's not thought of as much of a degree. And yet, when you really think about learning how people learn, you can apply that to anything.
Yeah. I don't have a degree. Technically, I have a PhD, 2 masters, and an MBA. They all work for me, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do have certificates and courses that were 2-year courses that I did for the fire department. So I have a emergency management 2-year course, and technically it would qualify for an associate's degree. I just never did the paperwork to do all the English and the rest of it.
There's no need.
No, but that, it does tie into what I do, with my credit repair business and my debt settlement, is managing those emergencies, because it is an emergency for some of the clients. They're very distraught and stressed.
Yeah. And yeah, you're so good at that, and I love how you approach helping people so creatively and really drawing in things that people would never think of, to maximize their returns.
Yeah, thank you. So you got your or your education degree, started teaching, then we went to work at this. What was the business?
It was called Eagle Basket Company.
And you did
And
accounting for them?
yeah,
Yeah.
I did the management. I self-taught on the accounting, and then from there, worked with a friend of mine and helped her basically diversify her accounting firm. And then I became a partner there, and started doing, once I'd done that for 5 or so years, I did business consulting. One of the beautiful things when you do books for other people and so many different clients, you start to see trends. You get this beautiful image of kind of what's happening in your valley, what industries are doing well, which ones aren't. And the whole thing just fascinated me. I loved it.
I see a common theme with business owners. And the most common theme is their books are crap, that their books are a mess.
Yeah.
If they even have books.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if they do 100 grand or 10 million.
So many
just
people
bigger
think
messes.
it's their checking, like what's in your checking account is how you're doing. And it's so much more than that. And that was the picture that I sort of painted. And I found this interesting niche between business owners in the real world and the communication with their accountant. And a lot of times there was a lot of confusion. And so I became kind of the intermediary.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun.
Have you read Profit First?
Yes.
What do you think about Michael's idea with the 5 different bank accounts and separating? And
I think it's got merit. I think it really depends on what works best for your brain. So I do think it makes sense for some. I don't do that. But I've got the disciplines to make sure that I'm getting paid, and then I've got a lot of goals, and there's a lot of things that I'm doing in building my other industries where I build a business and then I use it as the platform to build the next one.
Yeah.
And so that's a little bit more important to me than keeping the cash.
Yeah, I really like the basis of his book. I think for the majority of small businesses, I think you would really benefit from doing the Profit First system.
Mm-hmm.
And I teach that inside of Fortress University, which is my financial education. I don't teach Profit First because I'm not certified.
Right.
I teach the Fortress banking system where it's similar, but we don't use the same terms and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember a few years ago when I first read it, I have a friend that owns another credit repair business, and we had started right around the same time. I think so my credit repair business is called Fortress Credit Pro, and his business is The Credit Pro. And it started about 6 months after I did. He's on the East Coast. I was on the West Coast. So.
Okay.
And I'm not insinuating by any means that he used the name. It was pro is professional,
Sure.
and there's not very many professional credit people.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he's doing probably $20 million a year in revenue now. And so for the last 17 years, we've shared things back and forth to help each other because there's so much business. There's 100 million Americans with credit issues. Him and I can't take them all on. So there's more than enough business for us.
Yeah.
So we share. And one of the things that I'd shared with him was setting up Profit First and how he could do that. And he's like, well, that might work for your business with all the cash you have, but it doesn't work for our business. We're struggling. At the time he's doing 10 million a year. And I said, Damon, that's when you do it.
Right.
If you can't pull 3.5%, 5% away for profit and 20% for taxes, depending on where you're at, then you need to do it. It's not it's like an overweight person with diabetes saying, I don't think exercise is really for me. Like they're the ones that actually need it. So I think if you're a business owner and you don't have your books and your cash flow dialed in, I recommend Profit First. I think it's a good book to start with.
It really is. It helps to make sense of where you're at. and understanding that it's not just your checking account.
Yeah.
I always tell people if your balance sheet isn't right, then nothing's right.
Yeah.
No.
I just did a consult right before you got here, and it was a 45-minute consult with a guy who hadn't filed taxes in 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it all comes down, if you're not, every single one of my tax settlement clients, it's the same story. They made a bunch of money. They didn't save for taxes. They spent it all. And then the next year they didn't make as much money, and now they're in the hole.
Mm-hmm.
And it just spirals.
And it's scary.
Yeah. And what I told him was, you just need to file. If worst case scenario, you file a 0 return and then you amend it. Now, I'm not giving tax advice. I'm just saying that's what I've been told by my tax attorney, is file 0 to prevent the penalty. Because the penalty many times is what you owe in tax. So if you owe $100,000 in tax, your penalty is $100,000, and they don't waive those penalties unless you ask and you can show there's a hardship. So
yeah, and even often that it's just once.
Yeah. So how did you end up turning it into an accounting business?
Yes. So started an accounting firm, and we were one of the first in Boise to do everything remote. So that was pretty new. And that was how we brought on all of our clients and really kind of pushed people, into using these online systems, online payroll, and doing everything remote. And so it was fun to be on kind of what was the cutting edge at the time.
Yeah. Do you still have that business?
So what I do now, I ended up, we built the property management business as a sister business when I had the accounting firm. And when we had our infamous Snowmageddon here, and I had offices in Sun Valley and here and 2 different businesses, I realized at that point I needed to simplify my life. So that partner took the accounting side and I took the property management side. But I still do the books for clients where their financials are a part of their bigger picture.
Okay.
And so I do still have an accounting division, that we get attention to, but it's when it's in conjunction with managing their other assets.
You already know the game is rigged, but what you might not know is there's a legal way to flip the script. I'm hosting a live 3-day workshop called Winning the Tax Game. Inside, I'll show you exactly how I've paid just a few $100s in income tax over the last 10 years, legally, ethically, and by the book. You'll learn how to turn your biggest expenses into the biggest business tax write-offs. You'll learn how to bulletproof your assets from frivolous lawsuits and how to play by the real IRS rulebook, the one the wealthy use. If you're a business owner and you're sick of giving 30 to 50% of your profit over to your silent partner, the IRS, then go to winningthetaxgame.com and reserve your seat. If you're listening to this right now, use promo code School of Wealth at the checkout to get $100 off the price of admission. Let's stop donating to the IRS. It's time you learn how to win. So go to winningthetaxgame.com and get registered today. So I would like to spend some time with you outside of this because I want to start an accounting firm.
Oh, great.
Because I don't want to do taxes, and I probably will end up doing taxes as well. Not me personally, but hiring a very seasoned, experienced CPA that only files taxes for my clients. And what I'm finding is in my tax strategy business, I bet it's 70% of the clients ask me for a referral to a CPA and a bookkeeper.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sending it. And then when it doesn't work out, they're complaining.
Yeah.
And then I just, even though they know, they're not complaining at me. They're complaining to me that, hey, they're just informing me that, hey, this person you sent me to is not really doing a good job. So I'm 90% sure I'm going to start a bookkeeping accounting company.
Yeah. I'd
just
be
for my
happy
clients.
to help you. Just what I learned about the lay of the land. And I still keep my toe in it and still love it. And I know what you mean, though. I think it's interesting with accountants because so many of them don't really give the consulting piece. It's just pushing the button,
Yeah.
and that is, I think, a great compliment to what you do. And then the everyday stuff, a lot of accountants now or bookkeeping firms are hiring virtual assistants. They're not even keeping tabs on and abreast of what's really going on, and so the quality is a challenge. So keeping that kind of in house makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, accountants, you should stay in your lane and what you really love and you're passionate about. And I think I actually talked about this yesterday on a podcast. The woman asked me, what's the biggest mistake that business owners make? And I said, in my opinion, the biggest mistake that business owners make is they expect their CPA and accountant to save them money on taxes.
Mm-hmm.
That's not their job. Their job is making sure your balance sheet matches, your profit and loss, reconciling. Their job is not, they're not tax strategists. They're bookkeepers.
Right. And it really, it can be a job even that's cross purposes. And so having someone that is a strategist that's separate from that makes a ton of sense.
Well, I look at CPAs and bookkeepers, primarily CPAs. I look at CPAs as the referee at a football game. They know the rules and they're there to make sure you follow the rules. They're not the coach that's giving you the plays to beat the opposing team, the IRS.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can they do a little bit? Sure. Only because you make them and you ask them.
Mm-hmm.
The CPA doesn't they don't go out of their way and say, Joy, let's create these 5 strategies and here's how you do it. And I'll do all the paperwork for free. They don't do that.
Right.
They're there just to make sure you follow the rules. And so I think that's the biggest mistake. In fact, have you read that Forbes study that showed that they took 10,000 business owners, their tax returns, and they found that 93% of them paid more in taxes than legally required.
I think I only know that fact because I know you.
Yeah.
And I keep up on your stuff.
Okay.
That is a shocking number. And
93%.
The tax code is there to help you pay as little as you can in some ways. And
it's 99.9% of the tax code is how to legally pay less.
Right.
99.9. Only 40 pages of the entire tax code is charging you tax.
Mm-hmm.
The rest. And now there's 100,000 pages or whatever it is. It's really 4,000 pages. And then there's addendums. Every time they make a change, like with the big, beautiful bill, I think that's 1,000 pages.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to get added to the 100,000 pages. So all these addendums. But again, the big, beautiful bill primarily is what you need to do to not pay taxes. We just entered Amanda, my partner in the blockchain company. We got a call around midnight from our lobbyist. And he said, if you can get a paragraph written in the next 2 hours, I can get it put in the bill because they've already signed off on the majority of it on R&D credits.
Oh, okay.
So she spent all night writing this paragraph and it got stuck in the big, beautiful bill. So we're hoping it makes it through the Senate.
I'm looking forward to hearing.
I know, because it's going to be so good.
Yeah. Hearing Amanda's experience sharing that's going to be fun.
Yeah. It's essentially dollar for dollar investment. So if you invest in our blockchain or blockchains that count and track, trace, track, and sell, it's trace, track, and trade carbon credits. For every dollar you invest, you get $1 tax credit.
Okay.
So you invest $100,000 in the blockchain, you get $100,000 check from the government because they're trying to make it so people have money to build out these blockchains because they're hundreds of millions of dollars to build them out. So anyway, that's fun. So now tell me about the businesses you said earlier you have. Well, stop, back up a little bit. Are you married? Which I know you are, but
yes.
What's your husband's name?
His name is Andy or Andrew, and we've been married 30 years this July.
Yeah, 30 years. Does he ever bug you?
He drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, it is because we're opposites. And what's been really fun is our youngest is moving out here in the next couple of months to just be at a season of life we've been through, the really hard stuff. And it's like rediscovering each other on the other side of raising children.
How many kids do you have?
I have 4 daughters.
4 daughters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was Andy a friendly father when the boys
Yes.
came around?
When the boys came around.
Yeah.
Yes, because of how we got to know them. Our kids didn't do a lot of dating. It was funny with my daughter Karis. Her husband kept trying to ask her out, and she thought he was just asking for information.
Oh.
Like, do you like to snowboard? And she's like, yes, you can go snowboarding at night for $10 a Tuesday. Like he was like, I'm not asking you. So none of them made it easy, on the guys, but we're so thrilled. We've got 2 son-in-laws and we're just thrilled with both of them.
Very cool. I think my girls might have stretched the truth a little bit with their friends because most of them seem to be very afraid of me.
Oh,
And I think it was something about my dad used to bury bodies, and my dad is in the special ops unit in the military, and he knows how to kill people, and then he knows how to bury them when I was a funeral director.
yeah.
So,
Well, and you're not a small person,
no.
and neither is my husband. So I do think, there was an intimidation factor that was always there, and Andy knew it.
Yeah, and I have a problem that I'm working on. I have a resting bitch face that I need to turn off, because sometimes I'm deep thought,
Yeah.
and people think I'm mad or angry or not like them because my concentration face is portraying that I want to kill you. So I'm working on my resting bitch face right now.
Those filters you can hold up. Andy has the same thing. And when he holds up the filter, the meme will show him frowning.
Oh,
Yeah, because it's just the way his face is.
yeah, I should look into that. Keep it in front of me all the time. So you got 4 girls, married 30 years. Andy, where'd you meet Andy?
I met him at a camp in the Sawtooth Mountains. I was up there for a retreat, and I ended up having about a 15-minute conversation right before the group I was with was leaving the facility. He was on staff there.
Oh,
And I just felt like I should apply to work at that camp, just kind of one of those nigglings, and ended up working there with him that following summer. And that was when we developed a relationship.
cool. I spent probably half of my childhood in Sawtooth Mountains.
Oh, wow. It's so beautiful.
Yeah. My stepdad and my mom, they were hippies. Well, he wasn't hippie, but she was hippie. And he was 30 years older than her. And he was under the idea that the world would end at any moment.
Mm-hmm.
And we spent a lot of my childhood with the Bundys. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Bundys.
Ted Bundy,
Yeah, the Crazies. Yeah, that was our family friends
Mm-hmm.
and the Mays. And we spent most of if it wasn't like super winter, we wouldn't spend in the Sawtooth because, there's 50 feet of snow or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But as soon as the snow was gone, we spent most of our days up there. So I rarely went to school as a kid. And I remember when I turned, I think I'd turned 10, and Paul had said to me, it's time for you to become a man. He gave me a pistol, a sleeping bag, a frying pan, and a fishing pole, and left me for 2 weeks in the Sawtooths at
Okay.
10.
Wow.
So I had this, I've never been lost in my entire life, ever. And so when I went into the military and I went to survival school, because being on a crew chief, you got to go 2 weeks survival school. I had such a great time.
You knew exactly.
Because I was
what
like,
you
I
were
got a
doing.
compass, a sleeping bag, and I got food.
So much easier than when you were 10.
Yeah. Yeah. So I spent most of until I was 15, because I left home at 15, but I spent most of my childhood in the mountains in a tent. So I love the mountains. My grandson's going to be here in a few weeks, and we're going to go spend a week up in the mountains. Not sure where, but somewhere.
Backpacking's a passion of mine.
Yeah.
I love hiking, and yeah, there's so many beautiful places to visit here in Idaho.
That's, one of the things I love about being here is people ask me from other places. Like, I can get on my motorcycle and literally within 15 minutes be on a mountain road.
Mm-hmm.
If I just go Floating Feather or Beacon,
Oh,
over
yeah.
to 55, and then just past the subdivision on the right. Now I'm in mountains, you know,
Yeah.
don't have trees for another 5-10 minutes past Horseshoe Bend, but it's still mountain roads.
Yeah, Andy is a passionate, motocross rider as well. So I'm sure you guys have probably even crossed paths out there
Yeah.
riding.
We're going to do, you were mentioned earlier before we started, we're going to have to create a business trip down to Mexico for Baja racing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, he's ready to set it up.
Yeah.
So
I'd love to do that. So now we got 4 kids, been married 30 years. You grew up in the Army. So that's really where you grew up because you move around a lot,
yeah.
especially if your dad was or since your dad was an Apache pilot, they move, a lot.
hmm
So now what are your businesses now?
So I have the property management. I did a development company off of that. And so looking to build fire resistant, energy efficient, affordable homes. That's been a bigger nut to bite off than I intended, but it's a problem. It's been something I've been studying and researching for 10 years.
Are you using foam for your walls?
Actually, yes, but it's the SIP panels. It's called ZS2 and it's out of Calgary.
Oh, okay. That
And
one's different.
so, you were talking about the carbon credits earlier, and that's kind of a part of the business model. They haven't quite figured out who gets the carbon credits when you build a home with those. And
The builder gets them
yeah,
and the buyer gets some of them, but the builder gets the majority of them. And then you can sell those. That's what our blockchain does, is you're going to get the majority of them. And now you can sell them to Amazon, United, these Fortune 500 companies.
yeah. I mean, essentially what you're talking about is the nut that, we were trying to crack. I think it was called First Wave Development, and using the SIP panels, I was doing electrical in the ground, in the flooring, and then popping up the walls in tech panels. There were a lot of things that I was doing with that were made the current building, community nervous because they've done the stick frame and it's like, why learn something new? And so the piece that I'm, juggling with now is if I really want to do this in earnest, I've got to build them and have my own construction crew myself. And that's the part that I hadn't really bargained for. So that's one of them. We have a transport company that will move mobile offices, manufactured homes, and modulars. So that was a big part in wanting to develop these homes, was that we had our own transport. And then we just recently added real estate, similar to you, with wanting to add accounting. It's just for clients that we're already servicing and wanting to complete the picture so that we can be a one-stop shop for their investment needs.
Yeah. Yeah. When I met with Will Harris, the gentleman from Georgia, he had said if he does something more than 3 times, he starts a business around it. And that's why majority of Bluffton, Georgia, the mechanic shop, the restaurant, the store, the butcher shop, the grocery store, that's all his. Because he says if I use it 3 times, I start my own. And
That's smart.
yeah, and that's kind of what I've done with credit repair. So credit repairs, that's the lead generation, and then debt settlement and then tax settlement, and then tax strategies for the clients that make a lot of money. That primarily most of the business owners that I'm getting now for credit repair got hit hard during COVID.
Yeah.
They had a great business. COVID hit, shut them down. They couldn't make the payments. They got some late payments now, and now they're recovered. So those are my tax clients because they're still paying taxes now after recovering. And I think I'll bring in the accounting. And then I have the real estate side for the investing, which a lot of my clients, probably like yours, are always asking me to invest their money and manage it. And it's just not something I want to do. I don't want the stress. The other day I found a new investment, and I think it's called Affirmed. It's an Amazon company.
Okay.
So Jeff Bezos started it, and it allows you to invest in real estate for as little as $200.
Oh, wow.
So they're buying now. it's scary to think that if a big company like Amazon is buying up all these residential properties and subdivisions, because that is scary to know that Amazon's going to own 100,000 homes in the next 10 years. On the other side, you can be scared, or if you only got a couple $100, you can put a couple $100 towards it, and it's not monthly. So you can do as little as $200 in a $300,000 rental property. And I just signed up for it yesterday.
Okay.
So I haven't got into how much you get paid, but these are all net cash flowing. You don't have to worry about, and they're paying cash for these houses. So they're raising $200 at a time. And then Amazon is essentially paying cash. Now I'm sure they'll leverage that later in some other way. But the houses are going to cash flow unless we have some crazy 2008. I don't see that going out of business. And I don't see 2008 ever happening again there's such a demand. If we can lower the interest rate.
Yeah, that's the piece.
Which is going to happen soon.
Yeah.
I think it's going to happen. And I think the hesitation there is I was doing some research and found that every single time in the last 100 years that they've lowered the interest rate after a recession, 100% of the time it pushed us into a deeper recession. And so I think they're looking at that as like, is this going to be the one time it doesn't? I think if the big, beautiful bill passes, or when it passes, hopefully by the time you are hearing this, it's passed. I think that's gangbusters. I think it's off to the races. 100% depreciation on real estate again, 100% depreciation on vehicles. No, they're saying now no tax on tips is going to be limited to like 25 grand, which kind of makes sense. The folks that aren't making, like I have a client, credit repair client. He made over $300,000 last year waiting tables at a steakhouse in Las Vegas. 300 grand. He can afford to pay some tax on his tips, but if you're making 60 grand, like my mom was a waitress most of her life, I'd be happy for a single mom or single dad, or even married couples that make 50 grand or 40 grand and not have to pay taxes on that. So we'll see what happens to that.
When I managed a fine dining restaurant here in Boise, the staff were making more than I was as the general manager, but they weren't claiming it.
Oh yeah.
So I think that's one of maybe the incentives with that is to finally figure out how much people are actually making. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause you have to claim it in order to not pay taxes. So we'll and then on the overtime, one of my daughters is a nurse, and the majority of her income is overtime.
Right.
And the majority of firefighter income is overtime, and police officers is overtime. And that's a big stress on your life. They're already working 60 hours a week, and then you throw another 40 hours or 30 hours of overtime. That they're sacrificing a lot. And I think that should be 100% tax-free, because they're giving back, not giving back because I don't say that word. They're giving to the community.
Right.
I hate that term, giving back.
Didn't that pass already or not? The
big, beautiful bill?
No, just the piece about no tax on overtime.
They've agreed to terms.
Okay.
Yeah. The Senate yesterday agreed to they changed the House's terms, because it was up to $160,000 in tips and $160,000 in overtime. So now they've limited it. So they've agreed to it, and now they're just kind of negotiating back and forth on a little bit of stuff. I think it's really close. I think they'll do a thing that they announce it on July 4th.
Oh, interesting.
I think that's going to be but the one thing they did do was they agreed to make it permanent, because they were phasing it out in 2029.
Okay.
So like on bonus depreciation, that is one thing that it's both sides have agreed to, that's permanent.
And is this now, the last I heard with the big, beautiful bill, the tax cuts for small business owners was only being extended and not being made permanent. Is that
supposed to go permanent as well?
Okay, good.
So that's part of the bonus depreciation. Now, of course, some of this stuff could change, and of course I could have read it wrong, scrolling through stuff. But a lot of those, what was not going to be permanent was, from what I remember, was overtime and tax on tips.
Okay.
and interest for car loans. I think they should make that permitted as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be, I know what'll happen. I'm not agreeing that people should do this, but I know from 20 years of dealing with people's money, personal finances, if someone has a 4-year-old car and they can go buy a brand new American made car for the same payment or less, or even a little more, they will do that in a heartbeat.
Right.
Even though I don't believe that that's the best financial move, but they will, because cars now are like your phone. It's you want new ones, and the harder they are to fix.
Yeah, I mean, I think the industry sort of even modeled itself after
With leasing,
that.
yeah, you just rent it.
Versus,
It's your monthly payment, and you just
yeah,
figure that you're always going to have a car payment forever.
right.
You know,
Yeah.
and as a business owner, we can already write all that stuff off. I'm saying to the W-2 employee, the nurse that can't write off the car, they're going to go buy a new car
Mm-hmm.
if they can write it off. Even if, and I think, Joy, I don't know if you've experienced this. I would say that, I'm not going to say the majority, I would say that many people believe if it's tax deductible, it's free.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Of course, that's not the case. And it's interesting. They'd rather spend 100,000 to save 30,
I know.
on the tax.
Yeah.
Right. But I think it's the deal that we just can't walk away from.
Yeah. It's 30% off.
Right.
And one of the ways I can get people to zero with tax strategies is the bonus depreciation with rentals. It's not a loophole. There are loopholes. I just don't use loopholes. I use tax code, because if you use tax code that's black and white,
you're not going to get
that
in
has
trouble.
case law.
Yeah.
If there is no getting in trouble, because that's what the code says. What gets you in trouble is the loopholes.
Right. Where it's like, well, I think it means this.
Yeah.
But
it's up for interpretation.
Right.
One of the tax codes, and people are calling it loopholes, but it's not, is if you buy a short-term rental and you manage it yourself, you now qualify as a real estate professional.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do the 750 hours, which means you get to take the depreciation from your cost segregation report, and it offsets your W-2 income.
Awesome. Yeah. That was a big part too for me in getting that license. So, but that is a nice feature when you self-manage.
Yeah. If you think about it, if you bought a $500,000 condo in Daytona Beach, you're going to get, on cost segregation, you're going to get about $150,000 deduction through cost segregation. And when the big, beautiful bill gets approved, you'll get it the year you buy it. So if you bought that $500,000 home and you financed it, you probably put 20% down. So that's $100,000, but you're going to get $150,000 tax write-off. So which means if you made $150,000 or less from your W-2 job, you paid no income tax. And now, since you saved 40, 50 grand in income tax, you now have half the down payment for the next one.
Mm-hmm.
And you just start rolling this thing. And then eventually you have enough short-term rentals that you can become a full-time real estate professional. So I just love it. It's creative. Yeah.
Yeah. And, it creates the ability. Time is the currency.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff that you're talking about here.
So with your rentals, I know you have a property management company. Do you also own some of the properties inside there?
Yeah, I own about 10.
Okay.
And, I love being able to just roll that in, and I don't have to take all the calls. That's something that we share amongst the whole team. And, so it's just a joy. I've done it for 15 years now to have built it to a place where, we've got this spread out. I'm not taking calls in the middle of the night anymore.
Yeah.
And, that thing. So
with the 10 that you own, and even the ones that you manage, have you ever looked at the 831B plan?
I have.
Yeah. Did it not pencil out?
It didn't in that situation, but that I would like to, in fact, I've just started researching. I'd like to get a duplex and maybe put an ADU in the back.
Yeah.
And I think that's a scenario where that kind of thing will make a lot more sense.
Yeah. I'm trying to get Corey Peterson is my business partner on the apartments, and we have 2,000 doors total. And I'm presenting to him the 831B plan and just saying, look, let's stop getting $500 security deposits from these students, and let's just bill them an extra $35 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Because realistically, if they trash the place, because it's all student housing, if they trash the place, the $500 deposit is not going to cover much.
Right.
And because they can't trash that much. I mean, because they have 3 other roommates, and the other roommates are also responsible.
Right.
So, but I mean, obviously they can't, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, no, I mean, it's an interesting gamble, and that all becomes income, and you're not holding that liability. I certainly have seen a lot more things in the property management industry kind of go that direction, whether it's pet fees or,
yeah,
and for the most part, I think it works. There's always going to be a situation where that wasn't the best scenario, but overall, it makes a lot more sense.
I know Shannon, he's also a member, and he's shared this publicly with people. He was saying that he's a real estate developer, builds apartment complexes, shopping malls, subdivisions. He was saying he's paid like $1 million+ in commercial insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And he's had one claim that was $25,000.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's looking at the 831B, because then he can raise his deductible to, $1 million, maybe save $200,000-$300,000 a year in premiums, or
Right.
even $100,000 in premiums. And then if he does have a claim, he's got his 831B to kick in. I think it makes sense for somebody like him.
Yeah, I actually brought one of my clients and got, had them do a sit down with
Van.
them. Yeah, for the 831. And I would say we're a fairly conservative area. It's difficult to get local accountants to sort of buy in.
Yeah.
And so, for that particular client, it was recommended to him from other professionals that he not do it. But, it's, I think that's part of what you bring is the more creative approach, willing to look at things that are a little outside of the box. And I do think that the 831, when you do it by the rules,
if you follow, that's
it
the thing.
works.
You got to follow the rules.
You
and
have to
that's
follow
the great
the
thing
rules.
with Van's company, with SRA, is their audit just got finished. It was an 8-year audit.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I knew that from talking with them that they've never had anything come back on them.
It was 8 years, and the IRS finally sent them a letter and said, basically, we give up. Van had sent them 3,500 boxes of documents that had about 5,000 pages in each document. And it was a new agent, and they just completely overwhelmed them with documentation justifying what they did. And so the IRS basically wrote a letter saying, you're good.
Mm-hmm.
We're done. We've closed this out, and there's no penalties, and carry on. So
yeah, no, I'm glad it's out there, because the insurance premiums are doing nothing but go up.
Yeah, for sure on that.
Do you have collections, charge-offs, even repos on your credit report? Let me tell you what not to do. Don't ignore it, and don't overpay it. See, most people either panic, or they pay full price, or they bury their head in the sand and let their credit rot until they get sued. At Fortress, we help you restructure your debt, settle it for a fraction of what you owe. And because of the way we negotiate with the banks and the collection companies, we often can get it removed from your credit report as well. Now, a lot of the time, the creditor will agree to delete it up front. This isn't a trick, it's a strategy. So click the link in the bio to learn more, or go to fortressu.com.
So with your businesses, you have the property management, you have the accounting, the development, and then your husband has his mechanic and building and transporting business.
Right.
How do you have all that stuff set up?
So,
and SARS structures.
right. So everything right now is its own LLC. Some of them have the S Corp election. One of the things I'm looking at now is setting up a parent, C Corp,
Mm-hmm.
and then doing some restructuring. I feel like I'm for the first time at a place to consider those things and to move some things around. I wasn't quick to do it because I've got different partners in
Yeah.
different entities, and so doing that was just a little bit more complicated. And honestly, it took a while in my own head even to work out how all of these things work together and what ultimately I wanted to do with them, you know.
Yeah, and it's when you're ready to do it, it's such a powerful move because it does three things. Number one, and the most important, is asset protection.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you do it. It makes you invisible, and it makes you bulletproof and fraud and frivolous lawsuit proof. Proof as in they can't take anything from you.
Yeah.
So now you can really rest assured at night and not ever have to worry about someone sneaking in a frivolous lawsuit and you losing a bunch of money. Remember the lady that we had at the training event? She was saying the average lawsuit in Boise is $1 million for a business owner.
Oh, yeah.
That was
No, I
like
do remember.
5 weeks ago,
Yeah.
Pam.
Yep.
So think about that if we could just forget about it,
I think one of the things that working out has a lot to do with my own exit strategy.
Oh,
Because,
yeah.
how you set that up, that needs to be, you need to kind of have that in view. And that's the part that I feel like I'm just trying to decide. It's like I would like to be able to pursue other interests in the next 5 years.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I think that was also a big impetus for getting that stuff seized up and settled now.
Especially if you're going to sell, because there's a $50 million tax exemption. So if you sell for $50 million or less, you pay no capital gains tax. As long as you have it set up as a C Corp and you sell, it's a shares. You sell the shares of the C Corp, which you would do if the C Corp owns all of the other entities.
Right.
Then you would be selling the shares. And then you would have to have 5 members or shareholders, and it's $10 million exemption per member or per shareholder.
Oh, okay.
So you, your husband, 3 of your kids, that's $50 million, no tax. That would save you $10 million.
I'll have to tease my kids. Which one of you is one of the 3?
Yeah, exactly.
I can't take you all.
Can't take you all. Yeah. It's 10 million. Yeah, it's 10 million up to. So if you had 6 or 7 partners, then it's just 7 million.
Just a little less.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that's one way to look at it. So the asset protection, and the way I describe it is, would you rather have, and a lot of people push trusts.
Yeah.
And the problem is revocable trusts have no asset protection to them at all. It's zero until you die. And who cares after that?
Right.
But these attorneys are pushing it, and these social media influencers are pushing, put your stuff in a trust, and they don't realize trusts have a flat tax rate of 39%. It's the high. It's almost double what a C Corp is.
Does that depend a little bit on when you set it up?
No, because it all changed in March 2024.
Retroactively?
January 1st, 2025, it went into effect.
Okay. So
irrevocable trusts have asset protection, but you can't run your business inside of an irrevocable trust.
Right.
So I met a guy yesterday, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I have my business are all in the irrevocable trust." I'm like, "Oh, that's fine until you get audited."
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to lose everything because, and when I say lose everything, he's going to lose all his deductions and he's going to get penalties and interest.
Yeah.
Because you can't be the manager of your own irrevocable trust.
That's not why you do it.
No. And so I described the irrevocable trust is the best camouflage in the world. You can hide out in the woods, but unfortunately, if you get sued, you got to tell the judge where you are. Right. Or you can have a C Corp in Wyoming that's an M1 Abrams tank, and you're driving around. Everybody knows where the tank is, but they can't get inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the C Corp.
Yeah.
And then the tax part of it, everything flows up. Apple Apple did this a few years ago. They were paying $10 plus billion a year in income tax to the state of California, and another 20 billion or so to the U.S. government.
Wow.
For their, because it was at the time it was almost 40%. Now it's 21%. But instead of paying that, what they did is they hired a tax strategist that was actually an attorney, and he said, "How about we set up a company in Ireland? We'll call it Apple. It's a corporation, so it's Apple Inc., but it's in Ireland." And what Apple America did, or Apple California did, is they sold all of their intellectual property to Apple Ireland. They got billions of dollars for that.
Mm-hmm.
They paid capital gains tax on it to make it all legal and legit.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since, they're sending a check to Ireland every year for billions and billions. Now it's up to about 40 billion a year to Ireland for leasing the intellectual property on this iPhone.
Oh, wow.
Why would they do that? Because the tax rate in Ireland is 12%.
Mm-hmm.
So they're saving tens of billions of dollars. And you and I can do the same thing. We don't have to go to Ireland. We go to Wyoming, because the tax rate in Wyoming is 0. Now they're still federal, but then it caps out at 21%. So the income shifting is pretty cool. And then legacy, if you do it all right, if something ever happened to you and Andy, instead of your kids inheriting everything, they're already in part of the C Corp. They're shareholders.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
there is
they
no
just
estate
operate.
tax. There's no probate. It's just the management. They're now directors instead of just shareholders. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the 3 reasons you do it.
Well, and you can be anonymous too with Wyoming, right?
Yeah, nobody knows it. Yeah, it's a non-reporting state. So it's a non-reporting, non-charging, non-tax. It's the only state in America that's that way.
Mm-hmm.
So no one knows who owns the C Corp or the LLC. If you sue the LLC, they can never collect from you. They can't charge you to sell anything. They can't levy your bank accounts. They can't seize your assets. They get nothing. They just stand there with their hand out. And then there is no tax, so you don't have to report anything. You have to pay the annual fee. I think it's $60 or something.
Mm-hmm.
The state of Wyoming knows who owns it.
Right.
But if you go, like if we go to Idaho and you type in an Idaho LLC, you know who the owners are, and you pretty much know where they live too, because a lot of people put their home address.
Yeah, they do.
So fun stuff. That's what I love about being an entrepreneur. We can just be so creative with all these things.
Yeah, I mean, it's so much fun, and I mean, it's exhausting. At times I can definitely wear myself out, because it's like as soon as I create space,
feel
I've
it.
created process, I've created bandwidth, and then that's when your brain starts going.
Yeah.
Right? And I've promised myself I'm not going to do it again, but I've said that before. So
You can't get rid of that. Well, now you're doing, so now you're the incoming president of EO, our Idaho chapter. I am so excited
Me too.
about this year. I think we're going to be the talk of the town, if you will, with some of our events. And
yeah, the energy with our board is just phenomenal. I'm just seeing an engagement that, and being a part of teams like that, when you're all, especially because we're all such unique birds, and when we get to do stuff like that together and really see what we can accomplish, that's not moments that you get very often.
No. I met this guy 2 weeks ago. I went to LA to train a dozen or so entrepreneurs on tax stuff. And I met this guy. He's charging $35,000 to do a 5-day event, which is essentially a forum.
Oh, wow.
$35,000 per business person. So what we do in EO, so if you're listening to this and you're a business owner that makes over $1 million a year, I highly recommend Entrepreneurs Organization to you. So entrepreneursorganization.com. I think it's .org. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
.org. Entrepreneursorganization.org. And then it takes you like eonetwork.com, I think.
Right.
Whatever. If you're not making $1 million, but you want to make $1 million a year, which is 93% or so of business owners in America, then you can still join, but you're under the accelerator program, What's the stats? Do we know the stats of if you join EOA
Mhm.
that you actually qualify for EO at $1 million?
So the program is set up to qualify in 2 years.
2 years.
And I mean, at least in our chapter, most of them do.
Yeah.
And it's pretty, and everybody comes in, at different stages. But our graduation rate into EO is pretty phenomenal. In fact, it makes the backfill a challenge because
Yeah.
we're graduating so many people into the program. And I'm actually the first accelerator graduate for our chapter to
Oh,
be
really?
the president. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So do you think it's 70, 80%?
Yeah, if not higher.
Yeah. Think about that. If you're making 200 grand a year and there's an 80% chance you'll making $1 million a year in 2 years, I don't think there's anybody else that can say that, or any organization that can.
No.
I mean, I don't know of anything.
And I would say, I think here in Boise, with our such a favorable economy, favorable state for small business, I think our graduation may be a little higher than other places, but the program is exceptional. And I've done, I'm in a lot of different industries. I've gone to trainings in different ones over the last 20 years, and by and far the quality of the things that I see coming out of EO are so much higher. It makes going to the other things not really worth my time, to be honest. And
That's so true.
and not even just the training and the
Yeah.
exceptional thing there, it's the people.
Yeah.
I was really struggling, especially as a female as well, to find a community that understood my issues. And making payroll, all the things, people can hear the dollar amount that you're dealing with and just be impressed with that, and not come with that guttural sense of the responsibility that means, and the people that you have to take care of and navigate. And that's an enormous part of this community, is that they support you just intrinsically, because many times they've already walked the path you're on, or you've done it, and we share back and forth. We're an organization that doesn't give advice. We share our experiences.
For the last 18 years, I've spent multiple six figures every year on masterminds,
Mm-hmm.
some of which are over $100,000 a year. I've canceled all of them, every single one of them. I get asked on a weekly basis if I will join someone's mastermind. And I said, there's no need. I had someone recently, he said, I did a podcast with him. And after the podcast, he's like, when was the last time you sat in a room with 10 highly functional entrepreneurs that could help you with stuff? I'm like, I don't know, about 3 hours ago.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was right after our board meeting.
Right.
And he's like, oh, well, how did you do that? And I explained it. And so now my response to, you want to join the mastermind? I said, I would happily come to your mastermind and teach, but I'm not joining because I don't need to.
Yeah.
Any problem in my life, and I truly believe this, any problem that I could potentially have, personal, business-wise, any problem at all, I can make a couple text messages and have the solution within hours, if not minutes. And not just in Idaho, I could be getting a solution from somebody in Japan or Germany or Ireland. Like, we have our next trip coming up in Dublin.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about business trips. That's the other thing. When I'm traveling all over the place, enjoying, a lot of these are EO trips.
Yeah.
I'm going to Cancun. I got accepted, by the way, to Global Speaker Academy.
Awesome.
So I'm going there in September. I'm going to Sonoma in August. I'm going to Scottsdale, I think, in October.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Ireland in April.
Costa Rica is coming
Costa
up.
Rica. Brazil's coming up. Maybe even Croatia in September.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen? I don't even want to tell anybody because it's kind of a secret. There's an EO member in Croatia that has a 155-foot luxury yacht. And he lets 5 EOers and their spouses use his yacht every year for $5,000 each.
Awesome.
So for 10 grand, you get to go on this 155-foot luxury yacht with fully staffed, all the food, the drinks, the whole thing, for 10 grand.
And that's so much of what this community does, and it's all over the world. You can
Yeah.
go to any city that's got one of these chapters and say, I'm in town, and people will show up for dinner or take you on these once in a lifetime experiences. And the other thing I love about it that's so unique to me is it doesn't operate from a sense of scarcity, but abundance.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
is rare. And that's what, that's what you need to grow. I've got information. I've already been down this path. Here's all the files on how you can do it.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I could send a text message and have any problem that I needed solved immediately within minutes to hours. And I truly believe that. I get on WhatsApp and I send the message. And that's, for example, Amanda did something on the WhatsApp the other day about our blockchain. And within seconds, we had one of our members reach out and told her what to do.
I remember when your forum, which is what we call these
Yeah.
groups, was getting together and forming. I was like, it's such an amazing group of just strong men, and such powerhouses. And so I was like, well, this is either going to blow up or be absolutely phenomenal. And my gut was it's going to be amazing. And that's what it has been.
That's what Doug from CI told us at our very first forum, because he did all of our personality profiles.
Yeah.
He's like, this is absolutely going to be a nuclear bomb, or this is going to be a phenomenal thing for you guys.
It's a world-changing group.
And we had one little thing, but it got fixed. And it's so that's just part of it. There's 92 other things that we get out of EO other than just forum.
Mm-hmm.
Forum is there's 6 to 7 people, different industries. You get together once a month, twice a year for a mini vacation, basically business trip.
Right.
And you share what's going well in your life. You share what's going bad in your life. And then we all experience share. We don't give opinions. We don't give advice.
Right.
It's all based on experience. And what I really like about it, one of the things, many things, is I don't have to be the smartest guy.
Mm-hmm.
I heard a business owner from the Hawaii chapter say a few months ago when we were there that when he joined, he thought that business owners were the smartest people in the world. And he realized they're really not. They just have a different vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
That they have problems just like everybody else and just a lot more stress than everybody else because they sign the front of the check, not the back of the check.
Right.
And there's a lot of stress with that. So I love EO. I think I'm in it for the long. I mean, it's saving me $250,000 a year just on masterminds. And there's no solicitation. I love that.
Yeah, I do too. I don't even answer my phone anymore because it's a constant solicitation. But, one of the things that I appreciate is you've got such a depth of experience and why it's valuable to you. And when, having that energy in the chapter, it just elevates everybody. It's easy to forget that this organization is what you bring to it.
Yeah.
And not be in the what's in it for me kind of mentality.
And it's not I'm on the membership community. And one of the things that I will tell people is, look, it's not a day spa. It is a gym, and you're going to get out of it what you put in. Yeah. You're not going there to get pampered. We're not going to pamper you and provide all your needs. You got to put in the effort to get any results out of it. And that's what I see when I talk to some people and they're leaving or not happy. I'm like, well, what are you doing for the chapter? Because I haven't seen you at any events.
Right.
What are you producing? What are you doing for us? Mm-hmm. Well, I've been really busy. Well, then that probably explains why you're getting nothing out of it.
And I think it's so important that you're involved at a local level, but really it's the regional and national stuff that really help you catch the culture, that we're talking about. Because it doesn't just come naturally. You don't experience this level of generosity and group share unless you've tasted it first.
Yeah. And they have like Wharton. How long is that? A 2-year program? You can go to Wharton Business School through EO.
I think so.
And they have Oxford and they have Harvard. From a guy that has a PhD, that's pretty impressive. That I could go to Wharton as in public high school diploma, barely. That's my PhD.
And the thing that's so phenomenal about them is that they're programs designed for entrepreneurs that are working for you immediately on the ground versus things that can be more intellectual, and then it's harder, to know how to apply.
Yeah.
So it's really tailored for those of us that are still in the trenches, and it's relatable. And you get as much from the teachers as you do from the other classmates
Yeah.
because they bring it. So I've been passionate about learning and growing as a leader ever since I hit, the doors of EO.
Yeah.
And so being presidents, it's a lot of work for sure. But, one of the things that when I stepped into EO, I felt like I was already dealing with the top 20% of the population, because these are the people that are owning businesses to make a difference. And when you step into leadership, you find the same thing. And so you just really get to refine not only yourself, but who you get to have conversations with.
Yeah, for sure. It has been so much fun. I could go for a couple more hours, but we're not Joe Rogan. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's such a pleasure to just visit with you and to hear all the things we have in common and what you're doing to, be a world changer.
Yeah.
And I love that.
I love the fact that you took the time to drive all the way out here and spend this time with me. If anybody wanted to reach out to you, how would they find you?
So Joy at wave-property.com is probably my easiest email.
So Joy at wave-property.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then if you go to that website, you can see our phone numbers and stuff.
Wave-property.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to share?
No, I don't think so. I'm just glad we got to do it. Maybe we'll do it again soon.
Okay, sounds good. All right, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the School of Wealth. I appreciate you. Remember, it's not how much money you make that's important. It's how much money you keep.